We'll be out of order after.
Good point.
Oh.
Well informed and a bit lighter.
Oh, you guys are there, are you?
Yeah. Thank you, councillors. Can I have a motion to resume standing orders? Moved by Councillor Longley, second by Councillor Neagle. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay, we'll move on to number 8, Director of Corporate and Community Services. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. This first report relates to Council's bank balances and the reconciliation as at the end of February 2020. So from there you'll see that there's Council has $27 million of cash in bank and investments. And the general funds ledger is currently at $1.6 million. So whilst that may appear on the low side, I can confirm that there's been significant grant funding that has come in early March. That has been over $2 million. So that reduces that balance up slightly, or significantly, as the case may be. So that report is recommended to you for notice.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Longmire.
With a question.
Seconded by Councillor Neagle. Question, Councillor Longmire?
Yes, if I may, Mr Mayor, and I think if I may direct the question to Ms Shannon, in regard to what I would call the operating account, or the cheque account as commonly called. Back in October, our funding in that was 9 million plus, and in 5 months we're down to we've gone down a fair bit of money. Today we're looking at 1.6. Even though you've just mentioned that there's $2 million in grant funding coming through, that's only in the short term. How are we going to stop the decline, or what have we got in a process to be able to make sure that we don't get into having an overdraft?
Thanks, Councillor Longmire. So we have a budget that's planned for the use of our cash over a period of time, and our cash flow. So through a financial year, there are fluctuations in our cash as a result of timing of receiving, say, rate payments or government funding or insurance claims, that type of stuff, and also with spending the money. So there has been significant funds that have been held in the balance that we had earlier this financial year that related to projects that Council was delivering and committing its own funds to. So a lot of that expenditure has been incurred, and there's still some revenue that we are due to receive, additional grant funding and rates and charges revenue. So from a control perspective, we've done the cash flow modelling and we have a budget that we're working to. So our control is to be managing our actual performance to the budget to make sure we deliver on that and we don't spend more money than we had initially agreed we would in the budget. So if we deliver to the budget, we'll have sufficient cash at the end of the financial year and we won't have a need to go into overdraft. And that's what we're on track to do. There is some more internal modelling that we're doing. It also relates to securing borrowing to fund a couple of particular projects that we have already discussed with Council, so that will also impact on the financial cash balance. So we are continuing to monitor it, and perhaps I can provide some further reporting to Council to give you a level of assurance of where we're expecting to be cash-wise at the end of the financial year.
I guess, if I may, Mr Mayor, continue further too, in regard to the operating accounts based in principle on the income that comes through for rate collection, I guess, is that fair comment? The other stuff that comes in grant funding and phase grants and all that is a contra opportunity. It comes in and goes out because it's already pretty well delegated. But what I'm concerned about is that the way we're heading, that our budget is not far away when we're drawing into position what we need to do, and especially with the rates, that's a big concern, that all of a sudden we don't need to be looking too hard or going hard at increasing rates, especially after the climate that we've had in the last couple of years in the drought effect on the rural area, and what we're looking at with businesses as well under the current regime of all the virus and all the rest of it. So that's my concern at this point in time.
Thank you, Councillor Longmire. Councillor Neagle.
Yeah, just further to that, we've been waiting for the long-term financial plan for a little while now. Is there an update, Ms Shannon, on where we're at with that? Because that's going to start to lead in taking Councillor Longmire's concerns on board. where we're going to be, not only at the end of this year, but further down the track.
Thanks, Councillor Neagle. We have been working over the last 9 months to improve our long-term financial planning, and particularly our asset management planning that leads into our financial plans. We have a consultant that is working with us on that project, and we received the first draft of the long-term financial plans last week. So there's a number of workshops that are planned for this week with our executive team and with our finance team to actually work through that and understand what's in there, address any inaccuracies or things that we think, that's not quite right, so that then we're in a position to be able to put to council a long-term financial plan to deliver on the services at the current level of service delivery and deliver on all projects that have been committed to by council. So over the next 6 to 8 week period, there will be a number of workshops that councillors will need to be involved in to actually bring you up to speed with where we're at financially and to make decisions about prioritising service or projects.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you, and just to comment on that, I think you're doing a fantastic job. Our council budget's largely been driven with its rise and fall by outside money, state and federal input that's created new budgets, new work, more employees. I'd suggest that council probably hasn't been in that position ever before, and my previous council never would have, but it's been a very different time, an exciting time, and those budgets were all aimed at creating economies and stimulus and giving us the opportunity as a council to go forward into the future, whether it be tourism or whatever economies we've created. So it's been an enormous job, and congratulations for that, Joe. Okay, if there's no further questions, I'll put it all in favour.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
The next report provides a schedule of council's investments at the end of February, so that's recommended to you for notice.
Moved by Councillor Thomas, seconded by Councillor Longley. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll put it all in favour.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
This report relates to the federal government's drought funding round 2 program. As you would be aware, council has received $1 million under round 1 of the drought communities program and have been invited to apply for a further $1 million. Council's Community Resilience Committee or Reference Group or Working Group, we haven't determined an official name for it at this point, but that group, which comprised representatives from across the council area, and particularly those in the more rural areas of the council area, has met and considered 26 projects, providing feedback on the merits of each project and giving us a level of prioritisation of those projects from their perspective. Subsequent to that meeting, further information has come to our attention. Firstly being the announcement of the Stronger Country Communities program. So some of the projects that had been put up have been funded or partially funded under that program, so they now no longer need the level of funding that they had originally sought. And we've also received a draft of the Balldale Water Feasibility Study, which provides us with some additional information on that particular project. Following consideration of both the committee's recommendations and the Balldale Water Feasibility Study, the 14 projects totaling $1 million are now recommended to be included in the funding application under round 2 of the Drought Community Program. Projects have been spread across the Balldale, Borey Creek, Daysdale, Oakland, Rand, Savernake and Urannah areas, and there is a list of those in the paper for you. Probably speaking to the 3 largest projects there, we have $200,000 being allocated towards Balldale Water and improvements in that community. Now, I do note in the report of the project information, it talks about the new bore and pipeline and associated works. 200,000 will not be able to deliver all of the pipeline, so 200,000 will be is proposed to be allocated towards a new bore, which is the start of addressing the issues in Balldale. In addition to that, there's the Oakland Bowling Green, so it's a green resurfacing, 150,000, and the Urannah Bowling Green, so of 180,000 for a new synthetic green surface. And as I mentioned, a range of projects from across the council area, particularly the northern end of the council area. There were other projects that had merit. However, on the balance, the list that we're recommending to you, we consider to have the strongest claims against the selection criteria for the funding program. So there are some that aren't recommended, and a particular one to note, which was raised earlier in today's council meeting, relates to the Corowa Golf Club and the request for funding for the air conditioners. So when compared to the other projects that were put up, it didn't rate as strongly, in our view, against the selection criteria. So the recommendation before you is to note the report on the Federal Government's Drought Funding Round 2 program and to endorse the list of projects for inclusion in the application for Round 2 of the Drought Funding program.
Can I have a moved by Councillor Thomas, seconded by Councillor Longley. Questions? Councillor Thomas, yeah.
I'd just like to thank our staff once again, our Director of Community Services and Sarah for pulling it through, and also the inaugural part of the delivery of Round 2 was our bus trip, which we all really enjoyed for those who were able to attend. It was a brilliant day, well worth it. I'd just like to note though that I've noticed through the Urana Caravan Park that the decking rather than the storage shed, I was just so under the impression on that day when we went out and about that the storage shed was considered a higher priority by the managers than the decking. Can you just clarify why the decking's in and the storage shed's not, considering that they were really putting an emphasis on the storage shed?
Yeah, I'll just take that one. That would have been trying to, when we worked through the extra information for Balldale, trying to work out what was in and what was out.
They're both rated the same though.
Yeah, but that's not my decision, so if the committee or council had that, it just wasn't my recollection of what was in or what was out. And I wasn't fully understood that decking was to take out off the camp kitchen area and create more of a public.
I have done a problem with the concept, which is more the delivery of a storage shed to the Urana Caravan Park, that's all.
Yeah.
Rather than the decking, that's how I thought their priority set, but that's fine, I can move on with that. I just think we should acknowledge Peter in the room today. He's our Drought Support Officer, he's hosted by Corowa District Land Care, and he's in the room with us today, which is absolutely brilliant, so please draw on his resources. Just one thing I'd like Council to consider, and maybe we could look at doing a report maybe for the April or May meeting, or having Peter come back into the room and talk to us, or both with Jared. But are Council doing this well? We need to have lessons learned. You know, we're in the process of delivering the concepts from Round 1. We're about to go into Round 2. Are we doing this well? What can we do better? Just please think about that, and maybe that could be a future report that can come back to us.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Councillor Longley.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. If I may take the opportunity with the freedom of speech to comment on what I've observed in the process of the allocation of the $2 million grant funding from the Commonwealth Government. And let's first of all say thank you very much to the Commonwealth Government for giving us the opportunity for 2 rounds of $1 million each. But I have a point of view, and to a credit, Councillor Thomas mentioned what can we do better in the future. If you go back on the track record of what happened to where we are today to allocate the second round of $1 million, back in September 2018, Councillor Thomas from Mulwala and myself from Balldale were really concerned about the efforts of the harvest, the forthcoming harvest at that time. Why? Because low rainfall, but more importantly, bad frost events, which were really, really bad. And so we put together an opportunity to come together as a selected group of persons. I think there was about 20 odd assembled in September in 2018, and a cross-section of people within the industry of farming, agronomists, LLP, all sorts of notable people that came along to give a point of view that we were in a drought. And at that opportunity it was decided that we were in a drought for all the measurements and calculations that were taken. And so we put in and submitted an opportunity for an application to be declared drought in this Federation Council area. And I think at that time Christy Kay was the one that submitted the opportunity, if I got that right. So in the 22nd of October meeting, through the minutes that I've done some research on it, the key element that came about in one of the paragraphs, and it's only a small paragraph but it's very important, it said, equity has been a key consideration, with an attempt to ensure a fair distribution of funding across the council area. There are a number of projects which have broad application across the entire council area and will benefit those not impacted through a direct project allocation of resource. Okay, so that was the starting point, which was so important. And so when I look back upon the opportunity to distribute the funding that's been given out, if we go to round one, drought funding, in the opportunity, what I would term sectors, and it's been noted many times in the Director of Engineering's report about the sectors, the northern sector and the southern sector, and it was mentioned in your report just a while ago about such opportunities to describe how big our shire is and what it is. The drought funding in round one, the allocation to Urannah, Miranda, Borey Creek, Oaklands and Rand, who I would prescribe as the northern sector, was $750,000. The Federation-wide impact, with no infrastructure, mainly on IT and functions opportunity, which Councillor Thomas has been supportive and instrumental in getting, was $215,000. The southern section in the first round was a benefactor of $35,000. So if we put that into percentage terms, you're talking 75% northern, 21.5% Federation right across the board, and 3.5% the southern sector. We're now looking at round two. We're looking at the opportunity to endorse as a council for Urannah, Miranda, Borey Creek, Oaklands and Rand in the northern sector of $664,000. Federation Council as a whole for a project officer, which is not infrastructure, of $50,000, and the southern sector of for Savanac, Daysdale and Baldale, including the water for the potable water opportunity, is 66% for the northern sector, 5% for the Federation overall, and 28.5% for the southern sector. If we combine the two, out of the $2 million, Mr Mayor, the northern sector's got 70.7%, the Federation Council right across the board has got 9.125%, and the southern sector has got 16%. Some may have, and it has been prescribed, that the northern sector was the worst part of the shire when the drought declaration opportunity was given. Some have prescribed to that. Official post office records at Baldale and farmer records at Daysdale have identified in the 2018-2019 calendar years, for over 100 years, the records have been kept, were within the worst 5 lowest total rainfall and mean frost temperatures recorded at those sites. And these rainfall totals were around about 340 mil and 240 mil on average for those 2 years. But when you look at it in depth, the rainfall opportunity, a third of it, 100 mil, was out of the growing season. Okay, on dry land country, through that area in the southern sector in 2018, individual receipts for harvested canola were as bad as or less than 200 kilograms a hectare, whereby budget forecast is annually around 2 tonnes a hectare. So the visual, the perception of the irrigated country within the southern sector was something that was nobody's fault. But let's look at the dryland sector to say that we were just ordinary, as what the bottom sector was very, very, very ordinary. These are all defendable numbers. I've checked them. And so at the end of the day, what I'm speaking about, I believe, is what has actually happened. So to come back to Councillor Thomas's comment in regard to what can we do better, I think we can do this better. The Baldale water supply is so important. GDH, I think it is, have done the report. At the basic opportunity to get potable water from the new site to the existing pipeline is $734,000. Along with the $200,000 is a token offering. What are we going to do as a council to make sure we can get the opportunity to support this Baldale potable water? And remember, let's not forget that the House of Representatives question time recently, within a month ago, I saw it personally, the Prime Minister was asked about the government potable water policy for communities to which he replied that all available efforts to fund such a need would be created. Well, we're already on our way with funding that's come through as $2 million from the federal government. And at that time, in the first drought of 2018, people in Baldo were ringing up our local federal member, Ms Lay's office, asking for support and help, bypassing the local government opportunity. So I will support the recommendation here today if there is a surety from Council that the Baldo potable water supply is a priority to achieve. That is my point of view.
Councillor Longley, did you have your hand up before? Sorry, did you?
I'll just make one quick comment on clarity, just on the word potable, etc. So the report's only very fresh, the GHD draft report, but we felt it had to be furnished. And the report talked about 1.2 million, the way my understanding, and Steve, our Director of Engineering, might comment in more detail, but the 1.2 million would get a new bore out 5 k's past the current bore, a pipeline back in, but it won't deliver potable, which what I call treated water. It'd be much better water, but the full cost to get a treated system, etc., would be above that. Is that your view? Just so we're clear on the word potable and people don't think that they'd get that.
It's about 1.6, I think, from memory, reading the report now. So, but again, that was still using bore water with a chlorination plant out there, which would give you something to Australian health standard. So, yeah, that's still an achievable down the track.
Yeah. I probably would like to make a comment on that as far as being equitable. I too at the time was a member of that committee that gathered together. One of the main issues that committee at the time was frost damage. Council at the same time, same period, were trying to get a drought declaration, which we were unsuccessful. We went on for quite a while, and neighbouring councils had been declared drought, and we couldn't. The argument we put forward to our local member, Ms Susan Lane, was the rainfall differentials in our council. Councillor Longmire quoted 2 places, Baldo and Daysdale. They're about nearly the centre of the Shire, between the north and the south, right on the borderline. But we argued as a council that the differentials between the north and the south, the north was a lot less generally annual rainfall and harder drought stricken. Eventually we got through and she pushed that case through for us. So then we became drought declared. Not only one part of the Shire, which was our argument that we should have been drought declared, the whole of Federation Shire got that drought declaration. So the advantage of the drought declaration went through the whole Shire. Her own words, and there's quite a number of councils in this room at the moment, to us were, when we were given the funding, to make sure that we used that funding and utilised it in the northern part where the drought declaration originated from. That was her words, that was the intent of that funding for us as a council. So we delivered the funding as to her advice. Councillors, just to back that up, there was more than myself that was involved in that conversation with her and that direction from her. So that's why you'll find the difference is 75% that is spent in the north. I think there was a good situation that came out of today, and I think it's been a situation that finally this Federation Council has brought to a head and taken a stand on the Baldo water and actually held a community meeting and put some actions into place to make that happen. And I think that, obviously by the locals, it's been a long, outstanding issue, but we have taken that one up and running with it. So much so that our staff went back and had a look at our drought funding and thought, well, hey, this one, we've got to make something happen here. So there's been some through. But that was because of a late report that came through that told us that basically that we could make it happen. So we have. So I think as far as Baldo's concerned, we've committed to them, and we'll see something happen there and make sure that they get a fair go, the same as all our other residents. Thank you very much. Is there any further comments? Councillor Whitechurch?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I was one of those councillors who was present when Ms Lee had come out with that statement. It's probably a shame that it wasn't made as a public statement at the time, but What was also interesting in that was that, in that conversation, was that if the former Corowa Shire had applied for drought funding and the Urannah Shire applied for drought funding, the Urannah Shire would have obviously got the drought funding and Corowa Shire wouldn't have got any. And I just had to look it up because I couldn't remember, but the same sort of thing happened at the Moira Shire just recently where they missed $1 million in drought funding because you needed to have 17% of your ratepayers in farming land, and they only had 16.9. You know, so they missed out, but I think they eventually got the funding through. But certainly, I was at that conversation, and it wasn't a gazetted stipulation on the funding, but I do know that the northern part of the Shire and where we drew that line, obviously it wasn't, you know, where Border was, but I know that.
Point of order.
That's what it was. Yeah.
And the opportunity, Mr Mayor, for the funding to come through, it wasn't part Shire. I believe it was full Shire.
Yes, but I believe Councillor Whitechurch is just pointing out the same reasons why we were allocated funding. Councillor Longley.
On a meeting in Corowa before Christmas, I think it was the 23rd of December, talking to Susan Lee then, and she expressed to me that she would like to see money spent north of Rand and north, because she felt that that's where the driest part of the Shire was. And there, in the southern part of the Shire, it's patchy, but there were some record crops achieved in the southern part of the Shire, particularly around the Howling area, which was, and they're dryland crops, not irrigation crops. So we're just complying with the wish of the person who's giving us the money and has gone to bat for us, and I think we should stick with her resolution.
Thank you. And I think that's, you know, part of all good council decisions is you've got to put, you try and get the best bang for your buck out of your dollar as to what, you know, as to what the outcome of that funding is, and that's exactly why we've committed to around that $12 million in the Corowa swimming pool complex, because we think there's a real need and a real opportunity gained from that. So all our decisions are different, but this is why that direction was taken. If there's no further comments, councillors, I'll put it. All in favour? Against? Carries. Okay.
The next report relates to Council's Audit Committee. So this committee met on the 13th of December 2019, and the minutes are now recommended to you for noting and for inclusion on the council website.
Okay, could I move it, please? Moved by Councillor Meagle, seconded by Councillor Whitechurch. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried.
This report relates to the Corowa Men's Shed. They are currently leasing a site from the council at 44 Queen Street. They've expressed an interest in expanding their operations and are therefore seeking a suitable site to be able to do that. Council officers have considered the request and land options available in the local area, and a site on Honour Avenue has been identified as a potential site for the Corowa Men's Shed. So the recommendation before you is to note the report on the Corowa Men's Shed request for support to access land, and to approve council staff to enter into discussions with them with respect to a long-term lease for the property on Honour Avenue. And that will also provide a further report as discussions develop.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Meagle, seconded by Councillor Longley. Question, Councillor Meagle?
Yes, just a quick one. Ms. Shannon, the proposed site, is it the entire site or part of the site that because that's a huge chunk of land.
My understanding is it's part of the site.
Part of the site, yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Whitechurch.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I echo Councillor Meagle's words there. Well, I know that to look at that land, it's a large parcel of land, and if we're going to put it there, are we going to subdivide it, or are we going to keep it as that type of building would be put there, and perhaps a shoe shed down the track might outgrow where they might going to go, and you know, I certainly, that new house that's been built on the town end of that block, certainly wouldn't want saws and everything happening on a Thursday night or a Sunday morning next to their house, so some consideration probably should have to be looked into that.
Thank you. Councillor Longmire.
Yeah, in regard to the appraisal for $100,000 for that block, how many blocks, housing blocks, could you put along there? So that seems a little bit on the soft side, 100,000.
I'd have to take that question on notice.
It's not zoned for residential.
It's not zoned residential. So we can change that with the LEP.
Part of it is RE1, sorry, and the other part of it, the majority of it is RE1, public recreation.
Public
So
recreation,
to do that, we then need to change that.
yeah, okay.
Used to be an old. The
Oh, yeah.
council used to have their pole depot there.
Yeah. Trucking
I
yards.
just think you need to be aware that there could be, we'd need to get some land assessment done, make sure what's underneath the glass.
Think of Councillor Miggle.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if I might move an amendment to investigate part and just clarify that it's part of that site rather than the entire site. If I can-
Would you put part in front of lot, councillor?
Yes.
Yeah. On that point
Because
too.
I assume that it's one lot,
Yeah.
but we're not looking at using all of it. But if we could use part of the lot.
Instead of the amendment, we'd be happy just to change the
Well, if
recommendation.
if that wording is happy to be the second, and so be it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Councillor Wauchope.
Yeah, I'm still in line with Councillor Meagle there, and Ms Upyard mentioned that some of that was zoned residential. Possibly you would think that it would be that the two were blocked to the adjoining houses.
I can tell you that it's 116 square metres.
Is that all? Oh, I'll have to make it a little hut, stockhouse.
Winning now.
Any question answered?
Councillor Wells, did you?
I just can't say upwards.
Are we happy with that?
We'll get the report back.
We'll get that report back. It's for discussion for council.
Thank you.
So I'll put it all in favour.
Aye.
Against, carried.
This report relates to the agreement to lease at the Corowa Aerodrome. Council has an existing agreement with Amber Aviation in relation to entering into the long-term lease for the Corowa Aerodrome. The current arrangements have a deadline of the 30th of March for a lease to have been entered into. There has been significant work by Amber Aviation and council officers to progress a number of matters to be able to finalise the lease, and we're not yet in a position to be able to meet that 30th of March deadline. As a result, the recommendation before you is to have the agreement changed from the milestone date to be changed from the 30th of March to the 30th of June, with a view to being in a position to enter into a long-term lease from 1st of July 2020.
Thank you. Can I have a move, please, Councillor? Moved by Councillor Meagle, seconded by Councillor Longley. Questions or comments, councillors? Councillor Meagle.
Just a quick one. Thank you, Mr Mayor. I guess we all will be keen to see this progress as in a timely manner as possible. Just might, if some assurance from council officers that things are still on a positive track and that we're not just deferring or extending down the track and we wind up with no result at the end of it. So if council are able to offer that positive outlook, then happy to move.
I can confirm that things are progressing in a positive, constructive manner. There are just a few matters that we're sorting through to be able to finalise that. I do flag that at this point we don't know whether the coronavirus issue may have implications, given it's a global matter. However, we're proceeding with this recommendation still coming to you based on how we understand things to be at this point in time. Sure.
And I might just add to that, thanks Joe, the meeting we had only a few weeks back here amongst the mayor was at that meeting. There's quite a bit of back and forth with finalising the minutes of our both positions, and that'll come to councillors in a confidential format, just to respect that the deed is a exclusivity deed, but it's got some confidential workings until they work through that. So, but council laws will be briefed on that. You know, you won't be just getting a lease that we expect to authorise. It'll work through a lot of things that of this nature, and this type of business especially needs to be, you know, both parties need to be really clear on where that's going. But I agree, it's taking a little time, but those bigger ones do take some negotiating. But yeah, as Joe just pointed out too, we're probably also at the mercy of the world in that regard too, some of it.
Understood.
But it was a very positive meeting. Yeah. Any further comments there, councillors? If not, I'll put it all in favour. Against, carried.
This report relates to Council's events and festival management policy. So this was originally adopted in 2016. It has now been reviewed and some improvements made to provide additional guidance to organisers of events and festivals in the Federation Council area. So the recommendation before you is to note the report on the policy and to adopt the amended events and festival management policy, and for that policy to be placed on the council website.
To be moved by
To
councillor...
make that subject to coronavirus, or?
Moved by councillor Watcher, seconded by councillor Meagle. Councillor Watcher.
Mr Mayor, if I could, obviously the policy's been looked over and been on exhibition, and councillor Meagle just made a comment about the coronavirus, which I guess our policy doesn't include anything like that, and I'm not suggesting that we do, but there are some things in the policy, and I've mentioned it before. I just need some clarification, or happy to change the recommendation, that should an event organiser come to council and want to run an event, and I'll use the example on land that is an alcohol-free zone, does the council have the right to investigate whether that event's possible, or do we stick to the policy and make it rigid to say no? Because it's we don't have an answer on that one, but I'd certainly like to be able to say that every event is looked at on its merits, and the policy can be waived or whatever, amended for that particular event, but happy for an answer.
Perhaps in the first instance, if I may, we have had that feedback through the process of engagement on this particular policy, and there was an amendment made to the policy so that this policy does not lock that as being an option. So there is reference in the policy to events in areas where there's a prohibition on the use of consumption of alcohol, and we have amended that to provide for a situation where council gives approval otherwise to use alcohol at the site. So this policy itself does not limit that.
Yep.
With respect to licensing or permits, I'll probably need to refer to my fellow director with respect to responsibilities in that area.
Thank you. With the alcohol-free zones, you can suspend them, and the legislation was changed probably 2 years ago now, so it only has to be notified on the website that council is suspending the alcohol-free zone, and for what period and for what event. The licensing will then go through the gaming and racing business ordinance, some new departments in them, but that's the procedure. It's far more simple than it was 2 years ago because of that particular issue that you raised.
Excellent. Councillor Watcher, that covers...
Yeah, perfect, thanks.
Any further comments or questions? Councillor, if not, I'll put it all in favour. Against, carried.
This next report at 8.8 gives you an update on the Mulwala Business Park development. So this was a $4 million development that was undertaken by council and was officially opened by Susan Lay in in the middle of December 2019. There's 32 industrial lots, 13 of them are subject to contracts for sale, and we're expecting the proceeds of those to come through to council before the end of this financial year. So that will improve our cash position at the end of the financial year as well. That refers back to our earlier discussion. The recommendation before you is to note the report on the completed Mulwala Business Park development, and also to address what appeared to be an administrative oversight back in 2018. The recommendation also provides for council to formally adopt an increase of $1 million to the capital works budget to align with the total Mulwala Business Park development that was agreed by council in December 2018. That was at the time that council awarded the contract for the works to take place at the site, and the report detailed about the additional budget that would be required to support that, but there was no formal adoption of the budget. So this is an administrative matter that we're just cleaning up as part of this process.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Thomas, seconded by Councillor Meagle. Any questions or comments, councillors? Councillor Longley.
I'd just like to comment and congratulate council on bringing in a project under budget. Those doomsayers around the table here from time to time, yes, council does deliver the goods.
Yeah, it was a great result. Councillor Meagle, did you...
Yeah, I just had a quick question, Mr Mayor. Seems a bit pointless in some respects, because we can't take $1 million back now that we've already spent it.
Just to tidy the books,
Just
councillor
time
Wiggum.
to,
If there's nothing further, I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against carried.
And my final report for today at 8.9 relates to the Stronger Country Community Fund, round 3. So the announcements were made in the last couple of months in relation to the latest round of funding, and projects totaling $1.5 million have been successful across the council area for getting funding. So there's 7 projects that were successful in securing funding, and it was pleasing to see projects grant funded across the council area and broadly across from Mulwala, Corowa, Howlong, and north to Miranda, Uranga and Range. So there is quite a cross-section of the council area that was successful in this. I'd also like to congratulate those community organisations that submitted the applications. There's a lot of work that goes into those, and it's volunteers in the community that enable those applications to be submitted, and they deserve to be congratulated for the achievement there in getting that funding.
Thank you. Can I have a mover, please, for that? Moved by Councillor Thomas, seconded by Councillor Whitechurch. Councillor Longley.
Yeah, if I may ask a question, and I'm not a doomsdayer if it's been suggested in that regard, but having said that, I just asked a question in the allocating of the funds out of this opportunity. Who makes a call there?
So this is the state government
That's correct.
has responsibility
Understand
for
that.
So council is able to submit applications, and we did submit applications.
Right.
Community organisations are also able to submit applications, and those community organisation ones, that does not come through council, they go direct to state government. So we don't have an involvement in the assessment or allocation process for this particular funding round. We submitted a number of applications, and we were successful in one of them, but we're not successful in 2 others that we put in. So
We can follow up on that. I think my advice was that we only put in the one application as in our council putting forward as the applicant, and that was for the all abilities. We got my way of all abilities. We may have helped other groups put in applications, but yeah, maybe we could follow up on that.
Thank you.
But yeah, anyone is able to put in from directly from the community via council, and decisions are solely made by the state, the Department of Federal Cabinet.
yeah. So to go back to your point, we have no involvement in the decision. We
Just
don't get to influence
leading
the
hand.
decision.
Yep.
We're excluded.
Understand completely. Thank you, Ms. Shannon.
Ms. Shannon, just a quick question. The money that's been allocated, does that go directly to those organisations, or it comes to council first?
I'd like to take that as a question on notice, so I may like to confirm that before providing any advice.
Thank you. If nothing further, councillors, if not, I'll put it. All in favour? Against carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, that's very good. I'll now move on to the Director of Development and Environmental Services. Thank you.
Councillors, before you is item 9.1, which are the design, development and construction to the applications approved in February. Happy to take any questions.
Moved by Councillor Longley, seconded by Councillor Neagle. Any questions or comments, councillors? If not, I'll put it. All in favour? Against carried.
Councillors, item 9.2, development applications approved under delegation. Again, happy to take any questions.
Okay, moved by Councillor Neagle, seconded by Councillor Thomas. Any questions or comments, councillors? If not, I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against carried.
Item 9.3 is the regional and state significant development applications that are currently with council. As you'd all be aware, we had the joint regional planning panel meeting yesterday, and the panel resolved to approve the aquatic centre in Corowa, and they resolved to defer the solar farm at Mulwala. We have the reasons for the determinations yesterday. If you'd like to hear those, if not, I can make them available to you next week.
Thank you. Could I have a move, please, councillor? Moved by Councillor Wales, seconded by Councillor Thomas. Any questions or comments, Councillor Neagle?
Just one quick one to Ms. Saplia. The defer on the solar farm, is there a time frame for that, or?
That will be up to the applicant. We don't, the issue that was raised was regarding access. The access is changing from Tokawal to Wiseman Street, or Road, sorry. and there was no traffic impact on what was happening along that road into neighbouring properties. So they will provide an updated plan that will go out on exhibition, assessment will be undertaken, and then we'll go back to the council.
Sorry, thank you.
Thank you. If there's nothing further, councillors, any more comments? I'll put it all in favour.
Aye.
Against?
Can I just make a comment on that?
Yes.
Our assessment team, Megan Way and Kate Lennox, did an exceptional job with their two proposals, so I think they should be noted.
Thank you.
Excellent. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Item 9.4, Coral West Sale Yards Growing Local Economy grant application. This is just to advise councils that we're putting for a grant for the Sale Yards precinct, and outlined in the report the other works that are proposed. There was expression of interest called for quite a while ago now, and we were asked to submit a formal application, which is what we've done, so we're seeking endorsement of council.
Can I move by Councillor Meagle, seconded by Councillor Longley. Any questions or comments, councillors? Councillor Longley?
Yeah, if I may, may I ask a question in regard to 766,000 contribution from council? Is that part of the business plan to get that out of the funding that comes from the SARIA?
It's been included in the long-term financial plan. Depending on when we get all the funding for this particular project will depend on when that will be required. The original grant, the original contribution from council was only 250,000.
That's right.
And the original expression of interest. However, the project has grown substantially since
Hasn't
then.
it ever?
But this is still a very small contribution on just over a $13.5 million project.
Just on the extra funding, on the sourcing for that grant funding, have we got any indication there where we might go?
I was at a conference last week, and there's they've got state activation precincts, and now they're developed in 3 of the regional areas in New South Wales. So we're hoping to meet with John Barilaro and go through that process to see whether we can make this a state activation precinct.
Okay, thank you.
And I might just add, we wouldn't rule out the BBRF, the Building Better Regions federally, because since Mulwala's industrial estate and how long we haven't got any, we're in for an airport one for Cora, but I think we need to get some federal funding back into our economic drivers.
Yeah.
Councillor Meagle?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I was just going to support the comments of the General Manager. This is a key economic driver for the Federation Council in terms of the rural community that we support, and also council's own operations. And I think it's an ambitious project. I think, well, it would cover the water sewer fund. Looking at some of the components of this would be eligible to be used. But it's now the 4th largest sale yards in New South Wales, and is a key platform for council's operations. I fully support the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Longley?
Endorse Councillor Meagle's comments to the rural community, but it's also going to support a lot of people within the business community of Coral as well, the agents, those brings the farmers to town, they spend their money in a variety of businesses in town. Without the sale yards there, they wouldn't be here.
Absolutely. And in today's climate, great opportunity to enhance it and run with the accolades we've already got. Thank you. If there's nothing further, I'll put it all in favour.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Thank you. Item 9.5 is the proposed 2020-21 Heritage Advisory Works to Federation Council. As you can see, it's just the council for endorsement, and the majority of works are going to be in Gorey Creek. This doesn't mean that the Heritage Advisor won't be available for assistance to other heritage properties or heritage owners. It just means that the funds will be spent on the buildings of Gorey Creek.
Thank you. Can I move it, please? Moved by Councillor Thomas, seconded by Councillor Longley. Any questions or comments? Councillor Thomas?
More for note, for our director, when I attended the Van Town Improvement Committee last week, they have an appetite to look at their heritage area in their Main Street precinct. So we have passed on our heritage advisors' details to their chair, so they can follow it up at some stage. It was said it was available, so we get the data around them, that would be great.
Well, thank you. Anything further? If not, I'll put it all in favour.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Item number 9.6 is development application 2020-9. This is for a proposed shed in Corowa. It is seeking variations to some of the prescribed standards of the development control plan. There was one objection received in relation to the proposed shed. We're happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Could someone move by Councillor Whitechurch, seconded by Councillor Wiles? Councillor Whitechurch.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I did happen to be down in that area a couple of weeks ago, drove past to have a look at that particular block, and when you look at it on paper as it stands, it actually looks like it's a flat block. The objection stated that it was not in line with the streetscape. The block actually falls away very steeply off the road down to the river. The objector has noted that there was a floodplain and it will flood, but yes, the shed is going to be quite a bit lower than the actual roof of the house due to the level of the land that it's going to be down on. There's no neighbours to the right that are going to be affected, and obviously the neighbour to the left doesn't affect the view of the river or anything. So looking at it from the roadway and the level of the objection, I can't see any problem with why that shed wouldn't be approved.
Thank you. Councillor Meagle.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I also went and had a look, and the fact that the land does go below the road level quite consistent. For anybody who's built a shed in Corowa, the 3.6 metre is a real hindrance in terms of building something you would like to be a bit bigger, and therefore you would see why someone would object to having a higher shed. But I think it's being mitigated significantly here by the fall of the land and from where they're building it, and yes, if it does flood, well that's they build it there, they have to wear that risk, and so I don't see any issue with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? If not, I'll put it all in favour. Against, carried.
It has to be recorded.
Yeah,
Record
that
the
is
names.
reported.
Okay, so that was unanimous. Well, is that right?
Yep.
All four? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Item 9.7 is for rezoning at 2 to 4 Mills Road, Daysdale. We ask this particular matter be referred to confidential. It's probably resolved for unpaid rates and some issues that we need to resolve. There'll also be that we won't be able to determine 9.8 until such time as we've been into confidential.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Meagle, seconded by Councillor Longley. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried.
We'll just defer that one.
Yeah.
Item 9.9 we've already determined.
We might just be clear that we're also deferring 9.8.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for the record. Yeah, that's right. We'll just. Yeah. Council okay with that move?
Yeah, that's fine, councillors.
9.1.
So we can go to now. 9.9's done.
Yeah, done that line. A long way there. 9.10.
9.10 is Ballpark Caravan Park, Corowa Marketing and Promotion Endorsement. This is a report for the council to consider the moves to promote the caravan park in light of recent comments from the community and also the recent compliance that has been achieved as a park. I'm happy to take any questions, and I might ask that Alana helps me with this one, as she's been instrumental in getting this developed for us.
Thank you. Can I move it, please, Councillor? Moved by Councillor Longley, seconded by Councillor Meagle. Questions or comments? Councillor Longley.
I certainly agree with the idea of marketing the caravan park. I'm wondering why, though, we have to approve the marketing budget or the marketing money when this should be basically looked at as a commercial. We're operating a commercial business, there should be money available for promotion. I'm not sure why it has to come to council.
Yeah, so the essential part for council to consider, which we're recommending that they would approve, would be to change their fee and charge. So The marketing's just mentioned in there just to give councillors a heads up that we would be looking to work with a group such as this Top Parks to get us access to a bigger database and rewards, etc. But the council staff don't have any delegation, which is also a hindrance in us when we run businesses, not being able to be as agile with our price shifting. But our current fee and charge doesn't allow it, and we had some recommendations or suggestions from former guests that it may be a way of enticing more back, because it's also within a construction area generally down there. So we just need the council to allow us to make that change to the children 16 and under. And if that's the case, we'll be able to make those offers, but at the moment we're restricted. We can't even give a weekend away without the council making that endorsement. And part of when we do a full-on business plan, we'll certainly be addressing that as to ways we can make council consider endorsing more flexibility. But it's always been a bit of a problem with council's been stuck on for good reason, for the public transparency and councils to know where fee and charges are shifted from and to, but it's pretty much one of the few things I haven't got delegation to do is set a fee or a charge or vary it. So it's just trying to suggest whether or not we can do that, and we get that endorsement, we'd run that for Easter promos and going forward to a point, and then if it wasn't taken up or it was getting overrun with that, we'd review it again. But yeah.
Sorry, we can actually give you authority then to take the lead on these sort of projects without coming to council?
Yeah, not this one doesn't. It just allows a very specific change, and then if we wanted to try and do something more specifically for ballpark, we could set a bigger range of things where you could then allow variability, which I think we need to do.
Yeah.
It's just this is the first one that came up, and we thought it's an easier one to manage, and then we can review.
It'd be nice to get us on a business footing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments on that one? If not, I'll put it. All in favour?
All right.
Against carried.
And that's it.
Thank you very much, Susie. We'll move on to number 10, to the Director of Engineering Services, that will be Steve. What was booked?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Item 10.1 is just the update on our current works program. Is there for notation? Questions?
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Whitechurch, seconded by Councillor Wales. Any questions or comments? Councillor Whitechurch.
Just one question to Mr Carmichael, and probably taken notice or may know the answer. I had a ratepayer that lives in Betterment Parade, up near the RSL Club. They had a query, and I don't know the full story. The curb and gutter was moved out after negotiation with all the people in the street to keep the trees. And I'm only hearing his side of the story. So they moved the curb and gutter out, but there was concern that he mentioned that he wanted a cutaway in so they could park off the street. That didn't happen. The curb's been made. I don't know whether it's going to happen. I did go up there at a busy time. There was something on in the RSL Park, and the RSL was busy. There's quite a few cars do overlap on both sides of the street. It narrows the roadway, obviously within Stanford. You might be able to enlighten on that or take a notice.
He's approached council. He's been in here as well. We've had discussions. What he's after is obviously a concrete layback behind the curb and gutter. There's a parking area. We have had a look at it. There's a couple of areas in Albury Wodonga where they've done that type of, and it looks quite attractive. And I can reckon what happened when we had the public meeting with all the people in that area. They were the only street that said we want the trees retained, whereas the other ones we widened them out. That one we left very narrow to keep the trees in. And we'll take that on board. It's not in our budget, unfortunately, to do, but it's certainly something that could be done post now that the thing has been completed. And there may be others. I had a drive through there the other day actually, and there's another couple along there that could certainly do something similar if you wanted to. So. And certainly we've kept in mind for future projects where people do want to keep the trees and narrow the street down, at least it then gives them somewhere to park so that there's a through thoroughfare for other vehicles to get through. But we're aware of that one, yes.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions, Council? If not, I'll put it. All in favour? Aye. Against carried.
10.2 is just the update on the capital works program, which is ticking along reasonably well. We have got a few 100% in there at the moment, which is good. A few that are going on. The amount of road work that's still going on up north is good, providing, probably shouldn't say this, providing the weather stays with us, it'll be good.
turns wet. That's great for the farmers, but it's not a good for road building. But I'll be quite happy to put up with it if it does turn wet, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. That'd be good. Moved by Councillor Meagle, seconded by Councillor Longmire, if that's okay. Question, Councillor Longmire.
But I think Carmichael, if he's aware of any truth in the rumour that the railway line that services Borey Creek one day could close.
I haven't heard of it. They making a comment this morning, we were talking about another issue, but they're actually the railway line that runs from Mulwala to Oaklands, which is a Victorian railway, is actually listed in the 2056 Strategic Plan for New South Wales, which I thought was rather interesting. So maybe they have in mind to keep that line open, travelling to Oaklands. So if they're going to do that, you would think that they would probably try and keep the line open to Borey Creek. There's one goes to the New South Wales seaboard, whereas the one at Oaklands goes to the Victoria, the Geelong outlet. So. No, I haven't heard anything on those lines.
I heard that comment as well, Councillor Longmire, and that was in contrary to what I'd heard before from John Holland. There was interest in maybe maintaining that line from Borey Creek through the Oaklands, that old line, bring it up against that.
Could be good too.
Yeah, for inland rail.
Upgrade the lot.
Yeah. Councillor Meagle.
Just a compliment to the engineering staff on achieving so many 100%. It's great. It's a big capital works project, and we sort of don't sometimes appreciate the amount of work that we set the engineering staff to achieve, and to see so many 100% is very pleasing at this time of the year. So congratulations, Mr. Carmichael, if you could pass that on.
Absolutely.
Just to further to what Councillor Longmire asked before with that additional grant funding that's come in, a lot of that's to do with the Roads to Recovery program. And the beauty about that money, I think we got very close to $2 million, 1.98 or something the other day. We'd already spent that money. So that's money that was come off your current balance, so to speak. So that $2 million has helped to top it back up. And we hardly got any money for the Borey Creek job, which we finished. So there's another $1.3 million to come in from out there as well. So that's one of the reasons, that drawdown, some of that drawdown.
It's a good answer. Yeah.
Well, they love to blame engineers when they start to go down, so I'm just telling you that's what's actually happened this time.
Can I just ask you, in relation to Borey Creek, is there an upgrade plan for there, which came up the other day at that flood meeting? Is there an upgrade just been done or planned for there in the near future?
We've got some on the creek you're talking about, or we just finished the roadworks there. We just spent 1.3 million, and we've got about 200,000 to do an extension on the culvert on over Borey Creek itself. That's really good.
Yeah.
I think the other, if I may, Mr. Mayor, the other part of the discussion is the fact that certainly the canal, it goes all that way, south, it doesn't go north. So, there's some, through self-attrition, the whole thing in the market purpose for people, farmers to sell their produce, they want to go south. Could be good.
It actually gives you a link both ways too. Because you can link back up into Junee off to Sydney, so it gives you both markets and both ends. Okay, any further questions, councillors? If not, I'll put it all in favour.
Aye.
Against, carried.
Item 10.3 is just the update on your Stronger Communities programs. The ones that we're looking at. The only one we're having great difficulty with is the one at Rennie with the lighting. We have all the fittings and poles have been manufactured in a city in China, which some reason is locked down.
Yeah. Moved by Councillor Longmire, seconded by Councillor Meagle.
Comment,
Councillor Longmire.
or an opportunity to suggest another road, and it's a Hopefield Road. As somebody that lives on the road, I can assure you that the traffic over the Federation Bridge up the Federation Way, over the bridge there heading to Wagga, is enormous. I'm not just advocating it for the Bulldale pub, I can assure you, but certainly the traffic movement that goes through to Rand, big grain growing areas, Lockhart, across to Wagga, enormous grain receival or other general merchandise as well. Could we do that? Put
Yes,
Federation,
and we,
Hopefield Road in it?
in
That's
this
just one report ahead. We still hadn't, sorry.
we'll do 10.4, but Councillor Longmire moved it, seconded by Councillor Meagle. I don't think there was any question on that, so all in favour?
Right.
Against carried. 10.4 is this road, and then we can bring that into line there,
10.4 is just to bring you up to date with what's happened with the road classification. And I've put down the terms of reference there. This was announced prior to the last state election where I'm not real sure. I've got some conflicting reports as to where it's actually come from. I think it was a group of mayors up north who were having trouble with people wanting roads upgraded to state roads or regional roads. I'm concerned, firstly, about the terms of reference, and secondly, about, well, there's been no consultation as yet, and they're talking about taking over 15,000 kilometres of regional road and bring them under control of the state government. And they're also talking about doing it through a program called RMCC, which is the Regional Maintenance Council Contracts, which is what we do the state road on, which is a bit of road from here down to Mulwala, is the only state road we look after. We've got about $7 million worth of grants from RMS, or Transport New South Wales at the moment. 150,000 of that is from here to Mulwala. We would spend 95% of our time on that 150,000, and we spend about 5% of our time on the other $6.95 million. The red tape that we go through to look after that road from here to Mulwala is horrendous. And the amount of paperwork that they now ask us to become pre-qualified to what they call R2, which is to allow us to continue to work on that, and the paperwork and that runs into hundreds of pages, and I've probably spent the last 4 or 5 months, whenever I get a spare moment, trying to do it. And we got some documentation back the other day, and some of the comments were things like, oh, you can't approve this, you must authorise it, so you need to change the word approved to authorised, and it just goes on and on and on. It's just typical red tape. I won't say too much while I'm in open council. But there is a couple of glimmers of hope. In this committee, we do know a couple of people that are on there. I have been talking with one member. One member is the past CEO of our professional organisation. Miss Gillian Gilby is doing a lot of work with Randy, and she's been here to the council a couple of times and is well known to the general manager and myself. So I think it's a watching brief. At the moment we have, to be quite honest, I think the easiest way to handle it, at the moment we get what they call a block grant, which for this council, for our regional road network, it's worth close to $2 million a year now. If they doubled that to $4 million a year, and just said, and we have all the say in where we spend that. The only thing we do, we use a part of it to match another program which they call the repair program, which amounts to about $300,000 a year. So 300 of that goes off to that, but we still got 1.5 million which we can use on maintenance, reseals, rehabilitation, whatever we like. If we could get that doubled over a 10-year period, I can see we'd make some great strides in getting our regional road network back at the condition they want without the red tape that going under Transport New South Wales is going to. And it ties back, the reason I was referring to that 2056 regional master plan for New South Wales, the roads that they want to take on are the ones that are mentioned in that, basically mentioned in that report. And it appears to me it stops at the line about where the Great Dividing Range is, which doesn't appear to be a hell of a lot out this side of it, to be quite honest. I don't think anybody this side's going to get too much joy out of it. But it's a watching brief. We'll keep you up to date and keep you informed as it goes forward.
Thank you. And that was moved by Councillor Longley and seconded by Councillor Longmire. We didn't have a move and seconded for that, did we reckon? Okay. So we've got Longmire and Longley. Yeah. All in favour?
Aye.
Against carried.
Item 10.5 is to report on the Sanger Street Forest Street project update, which after the workshops last time, we said we'd come forward with, so it's there for notation.
Moved by councillor Whitechurch, seconded by councillor Wales. Any questions or comments? No? If not, I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried.
These next three, council will be very pleased to know this. Some of your section 355 committee reports coming through in an acceptable format, I'm told.
That's 10.6.
Yeah, 10.6
Yes.
we're on. The first one is Lonsdale Recreation Reserve Committee, the AGM minutes. It was held on the 19th of February in 2020.
And we've got a reco there that moved by councillor Thomas and seconded by councillor Meagle. Any questions or comments? In relation to that? If nothing, if not, I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried.
Item 10.7 is from the same committee, but they had a special meeting about a week later.
Moved by councillor Thomas and seconded by councillor Wales.
In this one, they did list down, you will see there some dot points, there's about six areas there that they said they would like to see progressed. As time and as money becomes available, so we've recommended that they be received and noted, and we can, and the one about the tree with the limb, dropping the limbs, I've referred that to Parks and Gardens, so that's been seen too.
Excellent. Well, put that one, but councillor Longley, I just note that these reports, the 355 committee, you can see that it's actually coming before council, it's been dealt with and all noted, so it's part of the process, council, yeah. Councillor Thomas.
I mean, it's just more for comment, just so we're on the same page. I've already taken it up with General Manager, and I know it's been dealt with, but in terms of COVID-19, I had a phone call from a Section 355 committee member yesterday about an event they want to host in the next 3 or 4 weeks, and they were really after direction from council, but I know it's absolutely being dealt with, and I spoke to Director of Community Services this morning. I know it's going to be dealt with, but I just thought I'd just bring everyone up to speed that some of our Section 355 committees might be looking for direction from council about hosting events in terms of what's happening in the world. So.
Absolutely.
But I know they're all over it, so.
It's the same, similar situation with Oakland's truck show.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
But it's thought that, yeah, that it'd be well under the 500 criteria, so,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you very much. If there's nothing further, I'll put it all in favour.
Aye.
Against, carried.
And item 10.8 is from the Low Square Management Committee. And that's, again, there's should have been an attachment to that report, hopefully with a whole series of proposed improvements going forward, which again will noted hopefully start to put something into the long-term financial plan and into the next year's budget until the year after, whenever we can.
Excellent. Moved by councillor Meagle, seconded by councillor Longley. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll put it all in favour. Against, carried.
Item 10.9 is the fixing of the council steel, the consolidation of titles and the council works depot that's here in Temora. That's where I used to work.
Temora. They're not listening.
Then I go back to Corolla.
I've got to move it there. Yeah, it's good this one. For Corolla, I've got to move it. Councillor Longmire, seconded by councillor Wales.
Stuff getting old, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got a crook when you start to go.
Any questions or comments, councillors? If not,
Longmire, sorry, did we get Longmire and...
Wales. Councillor Wales.
Must have worked with Temora for too long, I think.
Yeah. No comments, so I'll put it all in favour.
Good.
Against, carried.
And 10.10, Mr Mayor, is a tender assessment report for the new change rooms at the Oakland Recreation Reserve. Background of the report is there, and the recommendation is that it be moved into confidential and dealt with at that time.
Thank you. So moved by councillor Meagle, seconded by councillor Thomas. All in favour? Against, carried.
And that is it from me.
Yes, thank you very much. Steve? Okay, what time do we actually break? Is it 12 or 12:30?
12:30, so we can...
So we can move on?
Yep.
Notice of motion, item number 11, notice of motion, question without notice, there will be no items. 12, the reports from committees. No items. 13, delegates, is delegates' reports. Councillor Thomas, did you...
Does someone else want to go before me?
Sorry?
Has anyone else got anything they want to say before I start?
Sydney,
Or
Councillor.
do you want to... Yeah, you go.
Yeah.
I thought...
Yeah.
What committee have you got?
Hey.
Well, yeah, Mr Mayor, I'd just like to, so I went to the Festival of Dance annual general meeting. It was their first annual general meeting as an incorporated body since they transferred from Council 355 committee to the incorporated body. They have experienced a fairly smooth transition. They said that Council was very helpful, very assisting in making that transition happen. In their annual general meeting, they had returned a budget of $20,000 surplus, and their cash at banks, something like $28,000. They contributed $6,000 or $7,000 to the PA system at Memorial Hall, and they are going to write to Council to see whether they can co-contribute to upgrade the toilets at the Memorial Hall. And something that will be probably brought up in through Council is the fact of the lack of disability toilets at the hall. So I said that Council would obviously be looking at that anyway if it's a public hall. So, but the committee itself are very happy with the way it's going. They've re-elected, nearly all of their members have gone back on again, and their Festival of Dance, which is probably now going to be in jeopardy on the 20th of June weekend for the 4 or 5 days, is 87% booked out with 86% booked online. So it's pretty amazing that try-booking that they run and they do online is certainly proven successful for an older age group that you wouldn't think it'd adopt to it. So yeah, they're very happy and well done.
Thank you, Councillor Whitechurch. Councillor Thomas, did you want to comment on... Sorry.
I absolutely love this section, as you can see. I'm going to start with my most recent event, the Ageing Well luncheon on Sunday. Wow, 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 wasn't it, Councillor Wales?
No Congo though.
Who has seen this booklet?
Oh.
It is here,
Yes,
it is on the
I've seen it.
table.
Yeah.
What a great resource we all have in our Federation Council area. I do recommend you all grab yourself a coffee and then pass it on. Pass it on to somebody who might need it, because there'll be plenty who can use this, even from our age group. It is such a valuable resource. Thank you very much to the staff, and of course to our Ageing Well Committee who helped pull this together. Absolutely brilliant. Congratulations. Anyway, I have received a lovely, lovely email, and it was to be read out in Council. Good afternoon, Bromwich. Could you please thank the councillors and the staff for helping us the Ageing Well strategy to become a huge success. The Seniors Festival was so well received, and the functions we attended were fun and friendly. I haven't heard of any bad comments at all, and I've asked around for comments, so they have all been positive. Well, unless of course you have someone who tell you they shouldn't have had chips instead of roast buns. I mean, no, that's age specific, I don't know. The resource book is fabulous. I have gave one to a local pharmacist who said, "How wonderful, you've made my day." Great positive feedback from everybody. Thank you to all supporting these projects. Lastly, I would like to thank Amber Harvey for the amazing and calming manner in which she gets things done. We appreciate for what she does for us. Kind regards, Liz Seeliger. So that is just a testimony in itself, and if you can pass on those thoughts to Amber, that would be absolutely brilliant. Now, I also attended the Rand Town Improvement Committee, and we had an overview of how they're delivering their round 1 federal funding drought money, which was really interesting. It created lots of really interesting debate about the project, and that's why, hence I talked about how deliverable some of these projects are with the tight time frames. Explaining to committees that the tight time frames and the reporting around those was part of the guidelines. It was not council guidelines. Probably a little bit difficult, and that probably needs to be ironed out a little bit more. I will leave it at that. I thought the West Karuga meeting was really, really productive meeting, hence that's why if we can get them in the room with us just to actually move on and scope that out would be brilliant. But just to recap those 4 main issues that they brought to the table was, who's familiar with the Water for Fodder program that the federal government rolled out. You know, where South Australia got so $1 million to put through their desal plant, and then you could put in for a ballot. West Koorugun, they actually were really fortunate. They had 9 of their growers who got, you know, water out of that ballot, got some ballot water, but guess what? It's not deliverable. Why is it deliverable? Because there's no conveyance water to actually get the water to them, so it makes it inequitable. The delivery of stock and domestic water for the upcoming watering year, that needs to be recovered. As you know, there was a delivery this year, but that was hard fought, so maybe we're in for that hard fought session again for the upcoming watering season. We really need to look at the water use efficiency measures, exploring options for the West Koorugun scheme, whether that's, you know, some form of automation, lining of the canal, you know, some form of pipeline for their stock and domestic. So they have requested to council that we support them with a letter of support for letters and funding that they want to put forward in terms of the space we're getting for feasibility studies done for their particular project they're looking at. And we also then suggested to them that they also get those letters of support from our neighbouring councils, being Murrumbidgee and Berrigan, and have those conversations with them. It was really exciting to then go on in the other water spaces to attend the Murray-Darling Association 2-day workshop in Moama last week. Yeah, my sentiments still really are probably sitting that what role do they fulfil in advocating on behalf of LGA. I probably still don't sit comfortable with that advocacy role. I don't know whether they're doing it well enough, considering that Ramjo have pulled together a really strong paper in the water space, and I really feel that we should be supporting that, but I have discussed that with you in the past. Probably just some really take-home messages from the MDA. It was really highlighted that their regions, their current regions aren't working, and their regions aren't reflecting what's happening in those regions, whether it's from environmental, water, land use capabilities. It all needs to be revisited, and they absolutely do realise that. So whether there's opportunity there to bring them back into the room, unsure. Our Mayor was unable to attend, but our General Manager was able to attend. Do you have any more comments around the MDA strategic planning?
Only that I think with the lesser group that was there, possibly it could have been a sign of people pulling out, membership pulling out, but on the positive side there were some newer people as well. And if we're going to go the journey, like we all agree, we've got to make sure we can make every effort to make our region meetings more relevant, and that's not any criticism of our members who turn up, but we just kept harping the point that we need to make sure that we at least have the discussion properly about realigning our boundaries and make it more of a JO relevant thing, like a Ramjo footprint, and including Moira and Indigo, and gathering a more community of interest focus instead of having councils down Ballbor and Gippsland and places that don't go to our meetings, and they've probably got no really reason to. I probably wouldn't go if I was them either. So, but yeah, generally it's always that balance between how can you please councils from the Murray Mouth to the top, and including councils where Cubby Station and other controversial things are. So, but I do thank Councillor Thomas for making that effort and going along too, because it's only as good as what you put in. And I did notice also that they've got a few more staff, so possibly
6 staff, which is for
the
organisation as a whole.
Last it was all about whether if you haven't got the staff, how can we put ourselves out?
Well, they didn't have the capacity to deliver, so at least they're increasing their capacity to deliver. But we need now to be able to see that delivery. Like, we should be able to move on from that point. I suppose the other exciting thing to mention is that they have a collaboration with the CSIRO, which I think is a very exciting partnership that they've developed, which could give another forefront in the arena of advocacy. There was a couple of scientists from the CSIRO who gave a couple of reports. One very interesting, which I'm sure my fellow councillor will find interesting, is that there's a scientist there from Albury, and his whole project was about the science behind the environmental flow, in particular the one that occurred in spring of 2019. I didn't feel like, I felt I was the negative Nancy in the room, but I really wanted to know what the role of the Moala Canal was in these environmental flows, and also, don't you think your timing's a little bit wrong when you've got irrigators who are sitting on zero water location and they can see a river in full flow flood? Like, it's not a good look. But I think I got my point across to them in a very nice way. Okay, let's get into national. The Mayor and I went to the, Who Was My Neighbour dinner. What a heartwarming event. My heart was just like going, gee, this is just spectacular. Over 100 people in the room. We had 62 refugees here for the weekend, and we were able to announce that Federation Council is now a welcome refugee zone. Hence, that's why I would like to see something go to Alga. It was just such a heartwarming experience. I don't know if you could all get involved or meet these people at some stage. It would be absolutely brilliant. Hence, I would like to move recommendation to council if possibly we could get the Who Was My Neighbour committee or chairperson, or maybe someone from a representative from Melbourne to come up and talk to us in chamber. Because we actually, now that we've made this announcement, let's keep the ball rolling, because it's there. They're excited to actually move. And I think what's really highlighted too is just not Coro. We need to get them out to maybe our regional centres and smaller rural communities as well. So that's exciting, really exciting.
And thank you for making that announcement too, Councillor Thomas.
No worries, put me on the spot, but that's okay, I can cope with that. Now, we're looking at the world stage. As you know, the World Ski Championship in Mawela, unfortunately, the official event has been postponed. The world event has never ever been held in Australia before, and Mawela was to host. Anyway, the good news is that we do have 5 countries in Mawela as we speak. So that's really good. I have this lovely email, and it's a extremely sincere email from Pete O'Neill. He wanted me to pass it on. Hey Bronwyn, to be honest, I'm not sure this email should be directed to somebody, but I've directed it to you. However, I do hope you can pass it on to someone who needs it. I'm sending it to you as you were such a great point of contact between us and the Federation Shire, and your help was greatly appreciated. Yesterday morning, so I received this on the 16th, so that would have been the 15th, which would have been Sunday. Yesterday morning, we woke to the news that our event had been cancelled by our governing body. Unfortunately, they did not see fit to notify us or include us in the decision-making process. An error on their behalf, and one that will have ramifications for them. They are, however, doing what they believe to be right course of action. For that, I cannot fault them. Unfortunately, it has left us in a bit of a hole, and we are scrambling to make sense of it. We are working to have the event postponed, but until the COVID-19 virus is no longer in the world, we cannot, until then, we should hold it again. We are sorry for letting the Shire down. I'm thinking they're not letting us down. We're sorry for letting the Shire down, and that hope the goodwill and the promotion we have put into will keep you confident in your sponsorship remaining in place until such a time that the dates for the World Championships, and we will endeavour to keep you in the loop as much as possible. If you have any questions or concerns, please give me a ring. And then they've invited us to catch up with them at the club at some stage over this, the next few days. In my response to that email, I just absolutely thanked Pete for his sincere email, and I would like to think that Federation Council would continue with their sponsorship role, and especially our key staff members in tourism, community engagement and communications are absolutely vital linkages in the delivery of a future event. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Thomas.
Should we put that
Well done.
opening in there? Still got the road opening in.
We still have the road opening though, that's tomorrow?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Actually.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
Councillor Wales.
First of all, Mr Mayor, certainly great lovely reports from Councillor Thomas on the community reports, it's very good. I'd just like to, as I went to the Aging Well on Sunday, I'd just like to endorse Councillor Thomas' report about what a great day it was, a good role for people around our Shire, and the book that she mentioned was certainly got a lot of information in through, so I suggest please read it as well.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay. Right. Just
Yeah,
really one quick point. Just with the ski team, I just thought I should mention there was 35 team members. There was 24 of those team members who came from Federation of the Moira, representing Mawela, Urana, Yarrawonga and Bundjalung. They also wanted me to mention that 4 of these skiers are actually employed at SeaWorld, and also that many of them professionally ski internationally on a regular basis as well. Yeah, that was it.
Excellent. If there's any further delegates' reports or I'd just make mention that we, the General Manager and Councillor Kennedy, myself with Possum Poodle and John Law, we met with the Minister in relation to the Yarrawonga Moala Bridge, Minister Toole, who we were very involved with around the merger time. But it was a positive meeting. He will now go into, I've got the feeling he'll go into bat for the cause, but on his side he's got to do a fair bit of work and get RMS to do a fair bit of work in relation to the New South Wales side of the bridge. But it was a meeting to get him engaged with us and see if what sort of support we could get, and I felt that it was very worthwhile. The Victorian side of the business don't been down and seen their minister, so we need to reciprocate that effort and make sure the New South Wales were on the ball as well. So that was last week.
Could be our last trip to Sydney for us.
Yeah, I'd say it would be our last trip to Sydney for a while. So if there's no further delegates report, did I get a move in a second for that? I'll get a move for those reports, moved by Councillor Wales, seconded by Councillor Whitchurch. All in favour? Now we've got correspondence requiring council action for information. It depends, councillors, from 14.1 to 14.6. If anyone would like to flag any of those to be dealt with separately, otherwise I'll move them as a block, if that's okay. And that's moved by Councillor Meagle, seconded by Councillor Longley. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you. And now with item number 15, will we go into deal with confidential 12:20? Is that okay?
We could do one report.
We could do one report. So would someone like to move it?
Make a move.
Moved by Councillor Longmire, seconded by Councillor Meagle. All in favour? Against, carried. Thank you.